Good afternoon and welcome to our TimeSimplicity employee training. This is Alan Berner, Vice President of Community Services, and I'll be taking you through our orientation for the staff members to be able to log in and utilize TimeSimplicity, which is going to be our new scheduling solution replacing Ready Set Work. A little background on why we're moving with the new scheduling program. TimeSimplicity is offering us some features and some opportunities to utilize the system in some ways that Ready Set Work does not currently do so. And so as we try to be as effective as we can, and also as we work towards a centralized scheduling model here in 2015, this is going to help us to do that. And so there are some things that are new, but you're going to see a lot of things that are very similar to RSW, which is in part why we chose this. It gave us the flexibility that we needed with some of the features, but it also maintained some similarities so that it was something we felt fairly familiar with. And so you should also, in addition to this training, have the TimeSimplicity employee guide. I sent that out along with the video so that you can print that off and follow along as I go through it. I'm going to walk you through the guide and then kind of show you how everything looks as you actually get a chance to interact with it. So I'll refer back to it and let you know where I am at as I go. And then there are some things that I've specifically put in for Phoenix residents that aren't necessarily TimeSimplicity related, and those are bolded as you go through the packet. So first and foremost, logging in. Your initial login will be set by your employee ID, and so you should be able to get that from your manager, and that you'll use to come on get into the system for the first time. Later, I'll show you where you can come in and then change your username and password to be something that you'll remember and something that you like. Preferably, my recommendation would be to utilize your TheraP username and password so that it's easy to remember and reference. And so we are going to use these numbers. Shanna, I've volunteered to be our test subject. So I've put in Taishana's employee ID number, which is a 4-digit username, and then like the instructions say, if our employee ID is less than 6 digits, we put 2 zeros in front of it for the password. And so the password on the screen is 006. Our company code is already entered in here. You'll need to enter it in when you log in, and to double click there so it all went away. But our company code is PRI in all caps. And so 0. I'm going to click sign in. And so when you sign in for the first time, you're going to get this is your home screen. And this is always what you'll see first and foremost. It's going to come up. This screen is going to give you all of your options, as well as show you the schedules that have been posted and the shifts that you have. And so as you can see here on the screen, as I look through here are all the shifts that Ty is scheduled for in the month of January. And so as we move into the employee portal, that's what they refer to this as. You'll see that you can scroll through the different months. Right up here in the top corner, there's an arrow going forwards or backwards, and you can advance a month at a time. We'll come back here, or you could jump to a different part of the year. And so by clicking on this calendar, then it'll allow you to kind of cycle through wherever you want to go without having to go through each month individually. So, so that's what the month is. Request off. Request off is where you will request vacations for time that is not currently scheduled, as well as requesting PTO. And so Ty actually hasn't had this activated yet. I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording real quick and add that in so that you guys can see, hey, what that looks like as we go. You will need to have it applied. We are working on getting that done currently. So if it looks like this, it just hasn't been added yet, but it will be for you to be able to click on and use. So give me one moment and I'm going to jump right back. Okay, and so we're back. I just updated this while I jumped onto another screen, so it hasn't updated the information yet. I'm going to click on the refresh button, and there it didn't quite do it again. And so we're going to log off and come right back on. And just update it to the point where there we go, now it's on here. So now it's blue. This will allow you to click on it. If it's grayed out, you won't be able to click on it. So please feel free to either let your manager or let myself or Cassie Linnell know if this is grayed out for you, and we'll take a look and get it resolved on the manager end. So requesting time off, this allows you to be able to take time, like I said, be able to indicate vacations or indicate PTO that you'd like to take. And so it's going to give you a prompt here. When I click on request off, it's going to say select one more days by clicking and then click next step to proceed. And so next step is right here. So I'm going to look ahead here, and right here you're seeing, hey, this is the time that's been scheduled. And so just for example, if Ty wanted to take off some time here later in February for vacation, say she's going out of town for a 3-day weekend, and so she wants to take these days off. And so I'm going to go ahead and click. You just click on this one time. I'm just using my left click, and it's highlighting the 3 days that I want to request, that Ty wants to request off. I click on next step, and here, don't worry about the benefit plan because everybody's going to have the same one. And there may be something in here that says default hours per day. My recommendation would be to make this whatever your typical hours per shift are. And so for Ty, she typically works per shift when she works, and so what that's going to do is drop in that she wants to request 8 hours of PTO for those 3 days. Now, as we look at this here, she wants to have off these 3 days because she's going to be out of town. She doesn't want to be scheduled. And she wants it's saying that she wants to take 8 hours of PTO for those 3 days. And so as you see up here in the line, we can see the current balance. We don't have the PTO balances loaded in yet, but when we do, they will update likely on a pay period to pay period basis, just so you have an idea of how much PTO you have available. The best place to get this information is going to be through pay entry, but we're going to have it here as well. It'll show how many hours you're requesting in unapproved requests, and then how many hours you may have out there as a part of requests that have been approved. So for any of these days, because it's not scheduled, as you saw over here, we don't have any shifts over here yet because it's farther out than the schedule's been posted. If Taishana knows that she works on Friday, but she doesn't work on these 2 days, she's just requesting them off because she doesn't want to potentially get scheduled for them. She's going to go ahead and say, well, I'm not eligible for PTO because I don't typically have hours on those days, so I don't need PTO for it. I'm going to click on this, then I'm going to click update. And so now she's not requesting PTO hours for this particular day. And then she's going to do the same here, make this and update it as well. And so here for these 3 days that she wants off, it's a combination of, hey, I do have 1 day here where I'm normally scheduled. I want PTO for that day. But then for these days, I don't want to be scheduled. If there's anything that comes up, I don't want notifications about it. I'm not going to come into work because I'm going to be on vacation. You'd put 0 for those types of days. And so we're going to click on continue here. It's going to ask you to complete your request. You click OK. And now, once it refreshes, when I come back forward to that time, we've got this pending time off request for PTO. And so this at this point in time has now gone to the manager, and they have a chance to take a look and see, hey, who's all requesting time off, and can I accommodate this? If we can accommodate it, then they'll push approve, and you'll see it that you have time off blocked out here. Now, at any point in time, you can re-click on this. You can come back around to this request by clicking on my requests, and you'll see that, hey, we've got a time off request that's pending here for these days. If I wanted to, say you change your mind, you want to rescind that request, you could rescind that request by checking the box and hitting the delete button up here in my requests. We're going to leave it on right now though. As we go along, I'll do a number of these and then I'll go through and approve them just so you can see what the approved time off looks like. So moving on from request off, in the employee packet here under the request off section, I've outlined some instructions for use within our organization. We are asking that you should use this whenever you need to request a day off beyond what's scheduled. And so what's scheduled right now is everything that's showing here in white. Areas of the schedule that are not scheduled yet is blue. This is similar to RSW in that they had gray and white as their indicators for what was published and unpublished as well. So you'll know if you're a regular employee that, hey, whatever your regular schedules are, those shifts are going to be applied in this area once the schedule is published. But we are going to be working towards assigning and scheduling more of the open hours before the schedule comes out, so we're putting out complete or near complete schedules when we post them. And so the things that you use the request off button for up here is for when you need a day off, when you're not regularly scheduled to work and you don't want to be scheduled for that day. And that's where I was saying, hey, if I have these days off where I'm not normally scheduled, but I don't want to be scheduled, even though if I wasn't out of town, I would be interested. I'm going to request time off with 0 hours applied to it. When you're requesting a day off where you're regularly scheduled to work, right here, and you want PTO to be utilized, or the last thing is if I needed to ask for time off, say you had a sick day or you've got a doctor's appointment coming up and Ty has a day here that she needs to have off. So say on February 2nd, she needs to have that day off. Actually, I'm going to drop up to something a little closer and before our go live date just so I don't goof up something. So say on the 22nd, Ty has a doctor's appointment. She's not able to come in that day. She wants to request that day off. That's going to be a combination between the drop shift and the request off. And so the request off comes into play in regards to the hours. And so if she wants to claim PTO for these hours here on the 22nd, she's going to come up here, request off. I'm going to say okay. I'm going to click on the 22nd. Next step, I'm going to put these 8 hours in. Click on continue. Request has been submitted. You'll see this here. And then the next step is going to go into that drop shift. And so right now, the packet that you have, it outlines that you have the ability to drop the first or last part of the shift. I haven't turned these pieces on because I don't believe we use them a whole lot. It's something that if you would like to see that be a function here and have the ability to say, hey, I could work from 1 to 5 today, but I need 5 to 9 of my shift off, you could post 5 to 9 and see if anybody would take that. Like I said, we're trying to I don't think that we do that a whole lot, and I didn't want to add more details in. That'd be hard to track and keep than we needed to at the beginning. So if it's something you're interested in, please let us know, and we can look at, hey, adding that in, do some training around that as we go. And so as you flip to the next page, I've got another bolded section here where I added some information about how we want you to utilize this. When you want to drop a shift, just a reminder here that you will continue just like with anything else, even though you've asked, hey, can we get somebody to cover? You're responsible for the shift until somebody picks it up. But before I get into that, let me show you how it works. When I click on drop, this I need to click it before, and so I've highlighted the day that I want on the 22nd. This is the day Ty wants off. Click drop shift. Type in, I have an appointment this day, would anybody be willing to work? Nope. And I submit my request. So it's going to give you this reminder, just letting you know, hey, you're still on the schedule, you're on shift until it's picked up. I'm going to click OK. So your request has been submitted, and you'll see that, hey, we've got these two requests here, the pending drop request and the pending time off. If you want to take a scheduled day off, you need to do the drop shift, and if you want PTO for that drop shift you're dropping, you need to do the request off time as well. If you have any questions with this, please do let me know. From there, we're going to continue on. Now, at this point in time, what's happened is with that pending drop, messages have gone out to all of your coworkers that have said, yeah, I'd like to be notified when shifts come available. They'll have all gotten a message either via text or email, depending what they've said, saying, hey, there's something open, and they could come in and then they could use this pick up shift button to show, hey, what are the open hours that are available. And right now, we don't have any open hours at Douglas House except for the shift that Ty's put up here. And so that shift would show up here, and it would say, hey, it's the type, it's a DSP work group it'll show you the times and the date, if there's any other offers on it, and then in the comments it'll say that, hey, I'm looking for somebody to pick up my shift for a doctor's appointment. And at that point, a person could say, hey, yep, no, I'd like to work that. They'll give you a button to you'll click on it, it'll highlight, kind of just like this bar did here, and then you'll click on pick up shift, and then it'll send a notification to the manager to say, hey, yeah, I'd like to pick this up. And right now I don't think it'll let me do that because we don't have any open ones. So just to let you see that a little bit better, let me go ahead and open a couple shifts up at Douglas just so that you can see it. Okay, so I have that fixed. So just to run through that, I'm going to do it real quick again, but I've got some shifts in here now. These are what open shifts will look like in TimeSimplicity. And so there were some open shifts, but when I look back in there, they're all on the same days that Ty currently works. And so we have some evening shifts that are here, and so other employees who don't work at that time would see them, but this is just going to give you shifts that you would be eligible to pick up and work during times that you're not scheduled. And so I put some day shifts in here. If Ty wanted to pick up one of these shifts, she could click on it. Like I said, it's going to hold up that highlight there. I'm going to click pick up shift, and then it's going to confirm that with you. I'm going to say okay. And now it's submitted a request that, hey, I want to work that day, and it's going to show that, hey, I've got this request hanging out here on my screen that you've requested to pick up a shift here on this day, but it hasn't been approved yet. When it has been approved, it's going to show up just like any other shift here on your schedule. And so that takes us through the pick up shift. If you want to print your schedule, you can click that here. Messages. This will allow you to review any messages that have been sent to you. Anytime something gets updated in the system, that will get sent out to you either by email or by text at your direction, and then you can also come back and review those here. The last piece that I'm going to show you kind of on this screen has to do with, once again, your pending requests and offers. And so we got a whole bunch of stuff here that says, hey, this is what Ty wants to do. So she's requesting a drop shift. That's for that doctor's appointment day that she has off. She can cancel and say, no, I'm going to go ahead and move that. I can delete it since nobody's picked it up yet. When that gets approved and someone picks it up, it'll disappear. Same with the open shift. Once it's given to her, then it disappears from her offer to pick up shifts. She says, I changed my mind. It hasn't been approved yet. I'm going to go ahead and get off of that one. Same with the PTO. If she changes her mind on any of her PTO, she can delete them. Once they're approved, then they're going to go ahead and disappear from any of these areas, with the exception of time off requests. If those are still out and pending later on, you can still come back around and delete a time off request. Now, if you've had a time off request approved and your hours or shifts that were there have already been assigned out, you can delete the time off request, but you're not necessarily, you won't automatically get your scheduled shifts back if they've already been assigned. And so at this point, we've kind of finished up with the sheet that we were on. I apologize for not having page numbers in the packet, but we're now going to move into just a little note about publishing, and that's what the packet talks about next. As you look through, I just talked about the different icons, and I'm moving on to the next page. Talks a little bit about publishing. There may be information that's here in the system, just like with RSW, but you don't see it until the manager publishes it, and that means that the schedule is ready. We will do that on each time card Monday for the new pay period that's coming up. And so at the time of this recording, we're preparing to start the pay period of the 12th, which means that on the 12th, we will publish the pay period for February 9th. And so what we strive to do here is to have the pay period that we're currently in, the next one, and then one after, so that on time card Monday, we have a full 6 weeks worth of our schedule up and posted for you to be able to view, access, and manipulate, and do what you need to do with it. And so you can anticipate that, hey, on time card Monday, you should have a new schedule coming up and out for the new pay period. One more thing on the screen here. If I double click on this, it's going to give me some schedule details. If you want to see more than what you see here on the screen, it's largely the same. If there were notes or anything else highlighting on there, you'd see that pop up here. So moving along, I'm now on into the part of the packet that talks about features and menu items. And so that's going to take us up here. We've got our home screen. This is your home screen. The next one is features. And so we're going to go through these really quickly. Schedule preferences being the first one. And this is going to be the biggest thing we probably talk about in this section. It has to do with saying, hey, this is what I'd like to work and when I like to work. And so just to be clear right from the outset, this doesn't have to do with your regular schedule. Your regularly scheduled hours as a part of your position will always be there regardless of what you put in here for that. I would ask that you go through and say that you do like those times because they're part of your position, if you could. But we'll get to that here in just a second. The first thing I want to do is move this from 1 week to 2 weeks. By and large, I know a lot of us work on an every other week type of rhythm. And so just to kind of make it all match up, then this 2 week interval gives us the right rhythm with what you're going to be available for from pay period to pay period. And so we're going to go 2 weeks here, and then in the repeat start date, I'm going to click on this calendar, and when you go in to input this information, it's going to default to January of 2001. You're going to want to update that and make this date a pay period that's coming up or just happened. And so our pay period coming up is and so here we are in January 2015. I'm in the right month. I click on that, and so now what that's going to do is it's going to make sure that your week 1 and week 2 are the correct week 1 and week 2. So I've done those first, and now the next thing I want to do is click on this Request Change Preference button, and this is going to now allow me to say, hey, this is when I'm interested and available to work. And so for Tashana, she largely works 1 to 9s several days a week and then a weekend, and I don't know it perfectly offhand, and so I'm going to say that she works on Mondays, Wednesdays, and then let's just say Thursdays and Fridays. And so there's her Monday, Wednesday, Thursday shifts. Her Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday shift in week 1. And then here I've got Monday of week 2. I'm going to go ahead and put that 1 to 9 in. There's the next one. And you can just hold you don't have to click on all these separately. You can just click on the left mouse button and just hold it down. It kind of works like Paint if you're familiar with Paint. So now those are the days that she works, and let's say on her weekend she works from 12 to 8, and we'll just pretend that she works on weekend 2. And so this is what Ty's regular schedule looks like. These are the days of the week, and then the hours that she works each of those days. Now, this is, like I said, this doesn't necessarily need to relate with what you're putting in here, doesn't necessarily need to relate with what you're regularly scheduled for. What we really are looking to get out of this portion is what would you be available for or interested in regards to shifts that you would be willing to take above and beyond kind of what your regular position is. And so these are the open hours, the things that you typically request or are willing to work if others aren't able to do that. And so what we have here are 4 different rankings, and I outlined that on the next page. I talk about this a little bit in the opening paragraphs that are bolded. The first one is, as I look at this and I'm going to look at what are the times that I do really like to work. And if open shifts come up, I'd like to be considered for those in these times. And so an example might be, while she works 1 to 9, for her to work from 8 o'clock on, she's open and she'd be interested. And so she'd come through here and say, any day that I have to work, if you needed me to come in early, I don't have a problem with that. That would be great. And so she'll come through and put, green in these times. Now, granted, we don't have a lot of 8 to 2 shifts that come open, or 8 to 1 shifts that come open, but that's what she's available for, and that's what she's interested in. The next area is don't care, and that's in gray. And so what we put in for don't care, this is the default of what it puts for everybody. So we do need you to come in and put this in. Don't care would be the times where, well, if you need someone to come in, I'd be willing to come and do that. But if someone really wants it, I'm okay with not working. So those would be the times you put in as don't care. The next one we have here is the yellow, and I'm going to put some times in here for that. Let's say for Ty, from 12 to 6, anytime before this 8 o'clock start time, these are times that, hey, I could make it work if you really needed me to, but I really just don't like it. If there's nobody else, I'm probably going to say yes, but I don't want to work during these times if I can help it. And we all kind of have these times where, it's not preferable. I got to do a little bit more stuff. It doesn't necessarily set me up to work for the day the way I want to. You can put this in kind of whenever, but if someone were to call and ask, if your manager were to call and say, hey, would you be able to come in, work this shift or this time? Yeah, I could do it. Is there anybody else? I'm like, no, I don't have anybody else. You're kind of the last person. If you would say yes to that conversation during whatever times that are, that should be your yellow category. Now for Ty, the last one here is don't care. And so these are times where if we call and ask, hey, could you pick this up? There's not anything you can do. I can't. I work my other job. I've got class. I've got whatever. There's nothing that you could say or do to try and help convince me to come in. And so for Ty, let's just say she attends a class from 6 to 9 on Tuesday evenings. And so those times, we're going to put that in here as, hey, Ty can't come in Tuesday evenings. So it doesn't matter what I say, she has another obligation. And so she's going to put that as don't care. Or put that in as can't work. And that's what this black piece here is. And if you hover over any of them, it's going to give you a little pop-up reminder. You may not be able to see this as well, whether it says like, dislike, don't care, prefer. And so what we want to ask you to do as a part of getting yourself set up here is to take the time to come through and put this in. We're not initially going to use this at all houses to do anything with the scheduling other than to just give us some ideas. When we start doing centralized scheduling at your home, this is what we're going to use to identify, well, who could work when and what would they like to work. And so we want this to be as accurate as possible. And to be honest, until we get this information from you, we're not able to see what it really is going to work, what's not going to work, and how that all comes together. And so we are going to ask that everybody put this in. You can change it whenever you'd like to. It's not something that you need to keep in stone. It's not something you need to have the okay from a manager to change. You can change this based on what you need to, as long as it doesn't have anything to do with and just a reminder that this doesn't impact the positional hours that you have. And so we're going to continue to schedule you as a part of your positional hours regardless of this. This is just going to impact any additional hours that you may want assigned to you when the time comes that we get there. And I do want to say, before I go further, that we are going to spend time with each team at each of the houses, talking about centralized scheduling and how this works, and do a refresher on this and explain it further when we get to that point. And so what I'm asking for from you now is just for you to put your availability in, so we can kind of get a sense of what do people's availabilities look like, what do they want to work, and kind of get some comfort with the system before we start getting to that point where we're turning all these on. And so that all comes as a separate training. I don't want people worrying about or thinking that this is the one time we'll talk about it. It is something that's coming in 2015 in the first quarter of the year. But it's not. This is not the avenue we're using to send that out. So once I'm all done here, you need to click on Save Request. At this point in time, it is going to go to your manager to say, yep, that's fine. Because here, when I flip over to my active preferences, it says, yeah, I don't have any. What we're telling our management team is that people can change that however they want. This becomes more of a heads up. Hey, just letting you know, preferences got changed as you're scheduling, as you're looking at who's available when. It's going to be different than what it was the last time you looked at it. There's not anything we put in here that would say, no, we're going to deny that. That doesn't work for us. Unless there's been another conversation about availability regarding your position or directly regarding your position. This is not going to be used in that manner. This is just for, hey, open hours, extra things that I want, so that I want to be considered for. That's what this is about. So moving on from the scheduling, that's all I have with the scheduling preferences. Moving along with the features, you'll find your coworkers list here. And so one of the things we'll get to in the settings section is having you put your phone and email in. You'll have the ability to say if your coworkers can see that. As you would come in here, I have all the work groups, so everybody's listed out in here, but you'll just see the individuals at the houses that you work at. If you're looking for a specific work group, I could come over here to Douglas, click on Douglas, and now I see, hey, here are all my coworkers at Douglas, and I can see their phone and email. So if you run into a situation where you need a shift off today, it's a short notice type of thing, you need to call and find your own replacement, you'll be able to log in here if you have that ability at home, be able to find all your phone numbers right here, and be able to make those calls, get in touch with people as you need to. And you'll notice that your manager and house supervisors are included in this list as well. The schedule all view, I know that we've had a lot of questions with this with RSW, so I want to show it to you. This is what will come up as, hey, this is what the schedule looks like for any given day. So you'll be able to see who's working, when they're working, and who you're working with. So it's outlined, it's outlined as days, eves, and nights. You'll see each individual person that's working that day and the shifts that they're working. And then it bolds anything that you are working as you look in this view as well. And so just a feature there for you to be able to see who else is working and that type of, and what all the shifts are. The last piece here is benefit balances. Once we have PTO in here, you'll be able to see what your current balance as of the previous pay period or previous Monday it was, just so you have an idea of where you're at. And so current balance will be reflected here. It'll say when that was loaded in, and then any requests or time off, and then kind of what you may have unassigned in your bank. So that's everything with the features drop-down tab. On to the next page, and I'm now on the page of the packet that starts with settings menu options. And this will be the last round of stuff we have to cover here before we're done. In settings, you'll have, first and foremost, you'll have profile. When I click on profile, this is where you're going to get an opportunity to put your own contact information in. And so you're going to get a chance here. It looks like Ty may either has been in here or someone's put the information in for her. But you're going to see your employee ID. You can manipulate your name. I believe you can manipulate your name. But the things that we want you to put in are your phone number, and it doesn't have to be a mobile phone. It can be a landline phone. We do ask that you post a phone number on here just so that your coworkers can see that. If you have a cell phone and you'd like to get text message alerts, you'll need to indicate what your, I'm sorry, I forgot a step. In order for me to manipulate anything in here, I need to click Change Profile. So I click on this change profile button. You'll see that the program's working up here in the corner. You got the circle going, and now it's just going to give me the things that I can manipulate. So your name and ID, you can't actually change. But here's my phone number. Mobile carrier, just go through and say, hey, here's what it is. If you want to do oops, I didn't actually want to do that. I don't know if I have a cell phone or where it's through. And then send test SMS, and that's a text message. And so if I wanted to test and see if I got it right, I can push this button, and you should receive an email or a text message on your cell phone. If you want to get email alerts, this is where you put that in, and you can put in here whatever email you'd like that to come to. And then the last piece that we'll ask you to do is to say, show your phone to. You can say if you just want your managers to see your phone number. If you want your work group associates, this is the preference that I'd ask everybody to put theirs as, so that your coworkers can see your number. And if we all do that, then we all have access to it. You don't have to carry around your staff phone list everywhere you go, or call the house and ask them to give you all the numbers when you need help. And everyone would be individuals that aren't a part of your work group, but maybe looking up your name could see that phone number. For the most part, what you're going to need is your work group associates. Same deal with the email. You can select who you want to be able to see that, whether that's just your managers, work group, or everyone. It doesn't give you a don't show to anybody feature because your managers have the ability to come back through and look at your demographics and be able to help you manipulate any of that. And so there isn't anything that you can't not have that on there. Although, as an organization, we don't use personal emails for any type of communication because we have SCOM, and we could send a message through TimeSimplicity, and it would deliver that to you in the way that you've requested it. So that's not something that we're going to use as an organization, but we would be able to help reference that. And I know some people use that email for different things. So, but for us, from a business standpoint, we could look it up and give it to you if you had a question, but we wouldn't actually use this for our business purposes at this point in time. The next thing that I have on that sheet has to do with minimum and maximum hours. So I'm actually just going to back up here. I do want to leave the page. There it goes. I just want to draw your attention to the minimum hours and maximum hours per week. And while you don't have the ability to put this on here or change this yourselves, what I would like this to be is your positional hours and then the maximum hours that you'd like to work. And by default, we'll put this in as 40 hours in a week. And it just serves as an indicator for how many hours that you've been scheduled to try and help avoid overtime where we can. The minimum hours would be the number of hours that you work in a week. So if you're a 30-hour employee, we put 15 hours in here just to make sure we're getting you enough hours in the pay period. Now, if you're a person who has some availability and I'd like to pick up some extra shifts, but I don't want to pick up 40 hours if they're available, I would like maximum 20 hours a week to be my cap. Talk to your manager about this. They can change this from their side of things. And what that'll do is it will knock you down the list as far as people that we would call or look to help fill shifts that are open. So moving on to the next page, the next part of our settings tab is notifications, and this is where you get to say, hey, this is what I want to be notified of, when I want to be notified about it. So if you want to know when the schedule is published, you'll get an email telling you that. If you want a text message for that, all you need to do is click on this. It'll give you that option. I could have both an email and a text. I could just have a text. Or if I know it's coming up on Monday, I don't need you to let me know. I'll check it when I want to check it. You can unclick both of these. And so right now I'm going to leave that right the way it was. I'm going to close it. So you can come through and do that for each of these based on what you want. And so just run through the different options. Schedule published will let you know when it's published. Anytime the shift added, modified, removed. It's anytime we change something with your schedule after it's been published, this will send you a notification. If you've gotten some feedback on a schedule change or a request decision, you'll get a message back for that if you indicate that here. If you made some changes to your scheduling preferences and you want to be notified of that, that's what this one will do. This one will do. Whenever an open shift comes up, you can get a message based on your preference. Time off request decision if you get it sent to you or if it gets removed. You'll get a notification for these. And then daily schedule reminder. They don't put this in as a default, but if you wanted an email or a text message telling you when you had what your shift is for the day, you can put this on here as well. So this is all based on you, what you want to do, when you want to do it. Two ways to edit that. You can either double click on it like I did before, or you can click on edit for the highlight piece of it, and it will let you do what you want there. As you go through, user settings just has to do with some different options for changing coloring. If you don't like the black and blue and gray color scheme they got going on here, that'll give you some different options. The last two pieces, this is something that, like I said at the very beginning, I'm going to ask you to do as a part of your initial setup, is to change your username and change your password. Because you don't want it to be your employee ID and you don't want it to be the password that people are able to figure out. And so here you can change this to be whatever you'd like. My recommendation would be is that you change it to the username that you use for Therap. You'll just type it in here, click change username. I'm not actually going to do it because I'll let Ty do that herself. And then anytime you want to change your password, you just put the current password in. So right now initially it would be 006180 because that is Ty's employee ID number. And then her new password could be whatever you want it to be. You type that in, type it in again, click change password, and that will then complete that part of the process. So that is the end of our packet. If you want to log off, there's a button right here you can click on that'll log you off and take you to this screen here, or you can just close the window and that'll do that for you as well. Just some kind of parting thoughts here. We are going to be going live with the scheduling piece of this on January 26th at all locations, and so I do encourage you to get into the system and do some experimenting around with it. Go ahead and request some time off, try and drop a shift, do all those things. You can manipulate whatever you like before the 26th and do what you want there. Things that will happen after the 26th, if you don't talk to your manager and get it kind of turned around and reverted before we go live, those will be considered active dates. So our managers are going to work through anything that's been approved or adjusted in RSW and pull that forward into TimeSimplicity so that when we go over to TimeSimplicity as the schedule of record, that everything that was in RSW should be there. I recommend that as we get closer that you take a look at that and make sure it all looks correct. If you have any issues, talk with your manager about it at that point in time. Any questions that you have regarding how to use it, how it works, or suggestions, things that you'd like to see, please feel free to either, if your manager is not able to talk to you about that, please feel free to either talk to myself or Cassie Linnell, who's our new scheduling and volunteer coordinator, and let us hear that feedback. What's working, what's not, how can we help you with that? So thank you very much for your time. Have a nice day, and look forward to seeing you around.